Welcome to the City of Detroit's Black History Month celebration, as curated by the Office of Arts, Culture, and Entrepreneurship and Detroit Media. Please join us here on Channel 22 at 7 p.m. each weeknight and on the city's YouTube page and the Detroit Ace page on Facebook to watch special programs, see amazing performances, and learn about Detroit's powerful Black history.
We're here at the William V. Banks Broadcast Museum and Media Center, and this is not just Detroit's cultural and historical treasure, but really the nation's. I want to take you inside. Hey, Joe.
Oh, hello, Vicki. How you
Goodness.
doing? Good to
Great
see you.
See you
Thank
too.
you. Welcome to the museum.
Look at this
Come
place.
on in.
I love it.
Yeah.
Joe is president of the WGPR TV Historical Society.
Hello.
Hi, Joe. How are you?
I'm well. How about you?
I'm great.
Good.
Thank you for having us today.
We're excited for you to be here.
Joe, tell us what's so special about this museum named after William V. Banks.
This museum was designed to capture the significance of the history of William V. Banks and the WGPR broadcast or television station. Which went on the air back in 1975. It was the first Black-owned and operated television station in the nation, and it was headed by Dr. William V. Banks, who was both a minister, a lawyer, an entrepreneur, and just an all-around good businessman.
And talk about how he was able to accomplish purchasing the first Black-owned television station in the country.
Mm-hmm. Well, it really started back in the early 70s, 1972. Dr. Banks was a rare breed at that time. He was a Black Republican. Okay, he and Yulee Boykin were both Republicans, and they were invited to the White House to a dinner with President Richard Nixon. And during that time, there were no Black-owned and operated television stations. And the conversation came up that Dr. Banks was in radio and broadcasting, and there was a license coming up available in Detroit for Channel 62. And Dr. Banks and Yulee Boykin made a pitch for that license, and Dr. Banks, along with Yulee Boykin, raised the money. And after, of course, President Nixon gave them the okay that they would go, and they went for the license, they got the license. And they raised the money and they put the station on the air. That was back in 1973 when the original license was granted, and it was in 1975 the station was put on the air. It took them about 2 years and about $3 million to do so.
How did they raise that $3 million?
Well, Dr. Banks was really quite an entrepreneurial man himself. He was a real estate guy. He owned the Broadwick Towers downtown. He owned property all over Detroit, and he also owned property up in upstate Michigan. He had a barber school, a beauty school, and some other businesses. And he also was the head of the International Masons. The International Masons was a Masonic group that he and a couple of his friends developed after being a part of the Prince Hall Masons. They started their own offshoot of that, and they built that organization until they had more than 400,000 members across the country.
And once the license was approved, President Gerald Ford was in office, and he gave the station a shout out, right?
Oh yeah, the first day that we went on the air, he had a message recorded to congratulate us for our success at being the first Black-owned and operated station. Of course, by that time, Richard Nixon had started it, but by that time, Gerald Ford had come to assume the office of presidency.
Talk about the exhibits that people will see when they come here.
Well, we have a number of exhibits, and I think they will be very fascinated. A lot of pictures, a lot of stories, some artifacts from the time when the station was on the air. We have artifacts. Well, number one, we have a story on Dr. Banks, and we have the story of the men who helped him, Yulee Boykins, George White, and Jim Panicus, who helped him put together the station. We have exhibit on some of the great programs that we had produced during that time.
The dance show was one of them, really popular.
The news, with the gospel time, we had a great gospel show. We had all kinds of programs. You know, the significance about that was that when WGPR went on the air, it was a independent television station, did not have a network feeding them like Channel 2, 4, and 7. So we had to produce a lot of programs, and we produced many, many programs. You know, sometimes we operated 24/7, you know, in order to get all the programs produced. You know, we did talk shows, we did dance shows, we did music shows, we did movie introduction shows, we did, like say, gospel shows, just some of everything, yeah.
Big City News.
Big City News. Very, 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 very good program. And let me just say this, is that was one of Dr. Banks's desire, was to put on a newscast that reflected the position and the view of Black people about what was going on in the world. You know what I mean? You know, all of the stations were white owned and white operated, and he wanted the Black point of view. And so that was really important to him, to put on the Big City News. And Big City News did some innovative things too. One of the things that was very significant about what they did, Big City News was the first station in this television market to use video in the field of news production. So all the other stations were using 16 millimeter film, okay? And WGPR started off using the video, and it really gave them a competitive edge. From the point is that they were able to shoot, they'd go out in the same stories that the other stations, shoot it, and in a matter of 30 minutes have it on the air, as opposed to the other stations which were using film. They had to shoot it, they had to develop the film and edit it and do a whole lot of other things, and 2 hours would be the quickest they had. So it was innovative, and eventually all the stations moved to video, and we were the first.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And the station launched a lot of careers. Sean Robinson, Access Hollywood, Amir Jacobson, Dan Morrison, and the list goes on and on.
Yeah, that was
Nat Morris, of course, from the scene.
Well, that is one of the legacies of the station, is the fact that back in 1975, 76, when the station went on air, there were a lot of young people coming out of college that studied and had ambitions of being on television and being involved. But when they went to the other stations, Channel 2, 4, and 7, they'd say, "You got any experience?" No.
Right.
So they said, "Well, go get some experience and come back." Well, WGPR was that leg to give them that initial experience, and so many people went on to start here, do their initial work at the station, learn how to write scripts, perform on front of the camera, direct programs, produce programs. They got that first 2-3 years here, and they went on to Channel 4, Channel 7, Channel 2, Channel 50, Channel 56. There were people all over, African Americans, who got their first start in broadcasting. And that is part of the legacy. And that's part of one of the exhibits you'll see here, is the legacy of WGPR in terms of its impact on local television as well as its impact on national, in terms of the people who went on to do national things.
And one of the people that really poured her heart and soul into this and making sure that it had its rightful place in history was Karen Hudson Samuels. She was a former news director for Big City News and mentored a lot of people, a fantastic woman, God rest her soul. Tell us about when she stepped in and how that really led to getting the historical markers and everything.
Well, you know, Karen was, you know, quite a talented person, high energy, you know, really a smart person. And she came in early on when we first started the conversation, and she agreed to take on the role of executive director, which was a non-paid position, of course. This was a volunteer organization. And she came in and she went to work in ways that none of us could have done, you know what I mean? And she began with her relationships because she was involved in other civic organizations. She was involved with the Detroit Historical Society. She was able to get us our first exhibit of our artifacts and our memorabilia from the television station when it went on the air. And we went from there to, we had some fundraisers, which she helped to put that together. And eventually we had the International Masons to agree to allow us to use the museum space, which was the original studios for WGPR, to begin to put together this museum. And then, of course, she went on to get us designated as a Michigan Historical Site because of our position as the first. And then eventually, before her untimely passing last year, she had successfully got us positioned as a national historic site. So, you know, just a phenomenal lady. We love her very much and we miss her a lot.
And the newest panel is about Karen Hudson Samuels. People can learn about her history too.
Just one of the examples of how we portrayed the people who were have come through the station, and we just had an event last year, just in August of last year, around her birthday, in fact, to you know, take a note of her significant contribution, and we put together a whole display for her, a panel for her. Yeah,
Right.
very, very, very dynamic lady.
Talk about future plans for the museum.
Well, we have a lot of space here in this building, and so we plan to expand from the exhibit, which is just the studio here, to the second studio. We have another studio, which we're going to create an interactive experience where young people or adults can come in and sit on a news set and actually read a script, do a teleprompter, and when it's done, take a recording home that they can show their people, okay? We also plan to train young people, because that's one of the legacies of the station, is to train young people in the media arts. So that's one of the things that we want to do. We've got things on the board for that. We plan to also expand our recognition of African Americans in success in media, period. As you know, you received last year our Lifetime Achievement Award for that, and we plan to continue that kind of awarding and recognition of other African Americans who have succeeded in media in this market, and eventually on or about. So those are just some of the things that we plan to do here at the museum.
All right, well, best of luck, and thank you so much for preserving the history of these talented folks and the International Masons who made it all happen, and we just wish you all the best in the future.
Well, we thank you for taking time to come out and see what we have, and we just invite everybody to come and visit the museum. We're here every Friday and Saturday. In fact, in the spring, we'll be here every Saturday. People can come, and it's no charge. It's free to come in, so no admission. And, you know, of course, we take donations, you know what I mean? But we are excited about what we're doing, and we're glad that you come to help share what we're doing here at the museum. Thank you, Vicki.